You're listening to the Unsung podcast, where we talk about classic albums and decide if they deserve that distinction. And we also talk about some unsung classics in the hopes of bringing them to a new audience. And at the end of it all, we let you decide if we were right or wrong. This is the Unsung podcast. Hello and welcome to episode number 17 of the Unsung podcast. On the last episode we spoke about 23 by Blonde Redhead, and the public have decided that it does not make it into our discography, which is a great shame. We all love this record and we'd love to have seen it in there, but I guess there's maybe another one by Blonde Redhead to discuss in future. Thank you to everyone who voted. On this episode we're talking about Mclusky Do Dallas, so let's get into it.
You are while you're falling apart and it open a can of worms. And that gun's in my hand and I know it looks bad, but believe me, I'm innocent.
Hi, I am your host Mark Fraser, and I am joined by two of Glasgow's finest dancers.
Across the table from me is Mr. Chris Cusack, who is the only man in Scotland who knows all of Elton John's songs off by heart.
And across that same table from I sits David Weaver, who today is masquerading as a father of three at Pontins, with some kind of somewhere between lemon, mustard and beige shorts. Above the knee, of course.
You classify these as khaki.
I don't think they qualify as khaki.
You can see the sun, the fade, the original colour there on my turn up, and then that's what's happening.
Those
there
are the kind of shorts that would only hide your lower abdomen if you were in a late 40s film about the North African section of the Second World War.
Yeah, that's fine. Just chasing after Rommel. That's a big... Yeah, that's fine. I've also got... I dropped some tagine, homemade tagine on my trainers there.
Did you?
So that's what happens when you move to the south side of Glasgow.
You're just trying to consume too much at once.
Just too much tagine.
How's that going for you?
Tagine?
Yeah.
Well, it's all over the place, obviously.
Is it that good?
I literally cannot handle it. I dropped it everywhere. But it's pretty good.
On this episode we're talking about Mclusky Do Dallas, which I'm excited for, if I'm honest.
Uh-huh. Whose idea was this? Yours?
No? Was it mine?
Was it yours, Chris?
I like to feel this idea sprung unannounced from our hive mind.
This is organic.
It wouldn't have come from my mind, though, because I didn't really know this album.
Would you not?
I've always heard of Mclusky. They've always been in the background. And I've seen Future the Left and enjoyed them, but I don't own an album by either band. So it was new to me.
Did you enjoy the album, David?
Yes, I did. I wasn't really sure what to expect. I think it was it was wonkier than I thought. I don't know where I just couldn't quite place what I thought Mclusky was, because I'd always heard about them and I knew people that like good music liked them.
Well, he described, certainly Future the Left, Falco described them as motorheading the Pixies.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's fast and wonky, kind of.
Yeah,
it's got that.
It's more rock and roll, but in a bit more saturated, and the tones are a bit more forced.
It's like straightforward in that Motorhead sense, but then they do it in a sort of cheeky and a fun. I mean, it's very, very, very energetic. Particularly those first 5-6 songs on the record.
I think
just fucking go for it.
His approach to lyricism as well. The kind of semi-obscure pop reference approach that he adopts is invited comparisons with Black Francis as well. So, yeah, I don't think it's an inappropriate description.
I mean, Mclusky live shows are, in It's constant legend.
Well, do you know what?
Fucking phenomenal live.
I thought I was like, I'm never going to go back and listen to this album again because it's not really my thing. But I'd fucking love to see it live. I think they sound like the most punk rock, pub rock band ever. And like, I would like to be down the front holding a pint, getting it spilled all over me.
Yeah, I mean, we're probably going to get a bit ahead of the game here, but I saw them at King Tut's in a kind of semi-legendary kind of Glaswegian appearance that was sensational. John Chappell, especially, the bassist, pretty wild live. I mean, I don't know how the guy didn't break his own neck on stage. You know, the singer of James once broke his own neck on stage during a mosh, during a song. I mean, of all the bands as well. So the guy was he had a nervous thing that his way of dealing with it was to vibrate and gyrate. And he broke his own neck. I don't know how John Chappell didn't do that as well, because having seen him, literally his face was doing that blurred kind of thing. And I can't remember. He was getting in all about the lighting rigs and tuts. And actually, on the way here, like I told you, I met Craig Orzel, the bassist for the Twilight Sad, of all things, the subject of next week's episode. But Craig was saying that he and his friend went to see Mclusky at the Cat House when they played an Unders night, of all things. So he had two. Craig's not a small man as well, so like he had two distinctly overage guys skulking around the Unders night at the Cat House, waiting for Mclusky to come on. He said it took a good 3 hours and included some little girl going up to his pal and being like, "Can I get half of you?"
I'm afraid that would be illegal.
But there you go, the things you find out on the way to recording. But yeah, they were a terrific live band, and Future Left are a terrific live band.
Yeah,
I think
they're very good.
The element of John Chappell and Mclusky was pretty notorious. He was animated. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. So I mean, definitely looking at this record, it's kind of gone under the radar. In some ways. No, but like I look at the plays on Spotify and it's like pretty low.
This isn't even on Spotify, this one.
And it is.
Is it?
Yeah.
I can find it.
But
It's possibly why it's so low.
but you know, how many people are listening to this record now because they might have missed it first time round or whatever. But also it is in a lot of critics' lists for like best records of the decade and stuff like that, just in terms of like pure punk rock fury or whatever.
The band were perpetually on the cusp. I think they described that as well. They were like perpetually on the cusp of making a record that broke through, and this would have been their precursor record to hopefully the one that did break through. The album that followed this, which is called "The Difference Between You and Me Is That I'm Not on Fire."
Yep.
They had a knack for titles. Just didn't hit the mark the way this hit, and we'll get to that as well. But I think I was reading, a bunch of interviews in the preparation for this, and I was surprised to see Andy Falco say that, as far as he's aware, they only ever sold out 2 UK shows.
Really?
Yeah, I think both in London, and he described selling out a couple in the US and a few in Australia, I think. And he said and they never got to Japan, which is ironic because I think the style of music is the kind of thing. I mean, Alamos, the Dundee band, got in the charts in Japan. Yeah. And they're a band that invited regular comparisons with Mclusky. So it's surprising, I think. But yeah, I mean, he was reflecting on the fact that they just never really quite seemed to take.
But they've been influential.
They've definitely been influential.
They're maybe one of those bands.
I'd say so. I mean, when I interviewed him for another podcast, this was a while ago, he seemed to be very much under the impression that people don't know him for Mclusky, they know him for Future Left, and that's the thing. Yeah. Because they do sell out shows and they play loads of gigs and they fucking tour everywhere, do you know what I mean? And I don't know, for me, Mclusky have always been that thing, a band of people that I've always known, I've always really loved. Yeah. And Future Left are also very good, don't get me wrong, but maybe that's just him, trying to like just focus on the present and not really think too much about the past. I don't know, but he seemed to be very much on the impression that Future Left were like what he's known for as opposed to Mclusky, which I think is really interesting.
The cock is so hard. Her aim is true. I hear that when she comes enough for two.
I don't know, objectively, you would want that to be true. Yeah, I mean, maybe he's got a point in saying that. Like, Mclusky had the first album's pretty weak, to be fair. It's a band clearly trying to discover its sound. Yep. My pain and sadness is more sad and painful than yours, and it's got some good moments on it. It was brought out in quite a small label, Fuzzbox, I think, in like 99 or 2000. And then I think it was re-released by Too Pure after Mclusky kind of took a bit following Do Dallas.
Yep.
There's a tune on it called White Liberal on White Liberal Action, which I think is a standout and is the one closest to what they ended up sounding like with a kind of simple but very prominent guitar hook.
Liberals on skates.
But it's not a great record, and I don't think they think it's a great record either. But it is the sound of a band developing. Aye. So the band themselves were, generally speaking, a trio. Falco, a drummer called Matt Harding, and the bassist John Chappell. There's a lot of like tongue-in-cheek sort of patter around Mclusky as a band anyway, because of they're kind of notorious for their sense of humour. We'll go through some of the lyrics. It's pretty funny. But they kind of used to string along journalists. I don't know whether it's true or not, but they claimed that they met John Chappell when he was pissing on their tent at Reading 96.
I mean, that sounds feasible to me. I've made friendships out of similar
how you've met
situations.
a lot of people, let's be honest. Yeah. Just not 96. And the band was called Best, after Pete Best of the Beatles for quite some time. And rebranded as Mclusky in 99 before that first record. Two albums, the two main albums other than that first one, were out in Too Pure, and like I said, Too Pure reissued their stuff, and that was one of the bands that really helped bring Too Pure to a kind of wider audience. Too Pure had worked with PJ Harvey as well, though.
Yep.
So they'd had some pretty noticeable things, but I think Mclusky Do Dallas was, for me, where I got into Too Pure and started browsing their catalogue. So as much as Too Pure helped Mclusky out, I think to some extent Mclusky helped Too Pure out. They also, I think one of the things that kind of helped raise their profile was the decision for this record and their final record to go and record with Steve Albini.
Yeah,
and we've covered a lot of Steve Albini stuff in this already. I'm sure he's going to come up a few more times as well.
Not even trying either.
I'll be honest, I have a lot of time for Steve Albini. Of course, he's an interesting guy. I quite like his perspective on the music industry. I don't always think he does bands a massive favour in the way he records them, you know, his hands-off engineering thing.
Sometimes it suits a band, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I've heard them have mixed success with bands, but I do think this album was very, very well suited to him. I mean, it's brilliant. It's a really, really great match of his approach and the band's sound, and it's just it's maybe even uncharacteristically thick as an album for Steve Albini, who can, you know, like the aforementioned PJ Harvey. It was sparse when he did Rid of Me and stuff like that. It was big room sounds and stuff. This album, it's heavy and it's quite dense and stuff like the kind of flagship song To Hell With Good Intentions. It almost doesn't sound like an Albini recording. It does and it doesn't, because it's quite big and very immediate and very up close. So that seems like it was a really good pairing.
A lot of that's probably due with the bass tone though, which totally fucking is like a razor blade on the record, you know, like it just cuts through everything and it's so fucking huge.
But you say razor blade and that kind of suggests to me quite thin, and he has done that on some albums. I don't always like the shellac bass tone either. People rave about shellac's bass tone. I don't always think it does that much, but this is a much thicker sound. It's got a much more dense low end, which may be partly to do with Chappell's you know, setup, but Albini had to capture it, and I think it works really well.
And he captured the energy of the band.
That seems to be the main thing. Yeah. It's a really vibrant, like noisy, cacophonous, cheeky kind of. It's a very lively album. Yeah. They went back to Albini for The Difference Between You and Me, which came out in 2004, and it seems like there was quite a lot of pressure on them to follow this.
Yeah.
Reading some of the comments that Andy Falco in particular made about it, and just my own impressions of it, it seems a wee bit. It lacks a little bit of the joy of this album. It still has, you know, funny references. It still has funny song names. It's got the same kind of mix of like really good tones. I think there's more of an effort to make each track have a distinctive tone on the third album, and I don't think it makes the album sound a little bit less consistent. On this one, this album really flows, and even though there's like quiet songs like Fuck This Band, and there's stuff like Gareth Brown Says, which is really quite tuneful, and then there's stuff like To Hell With Good Intentions, which is like almost like an indie club song.
Yeah.
It does sound quite consistent. It flows well. It sounds like it was part of the same process. The third album, the songs and the tones differ much more radically, and I think it does sound a little bit more like they're trying to inject the personality into the song rather than letting it happen naturally. It's hard to say why that happened. They had a different drummer, but it's a drummer from Future to the Left. He's a Jack Eggleston, I think his name is, and he's a great drummer, and he's been great as part of Future to the Left. And by all accounts, it seems like Andy Falco works really well with him.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's down to him. Albini recorded it. He already knew how to record them. I'm not sure. It's hard to put your finger on it. It does sound like maybe a bit of the fun had gone out of the band a little. He made a comment in an interview about saying the album was fun to record, inverted commas, even if it doesn't sound it. So it's like, okay, that was kind of a weird thing to throw in there if you're,
Yeah, I mean, it's the sort of thing, a follow-up to this record. Maybe they just are trying rather than just doing it naturally.
Maybe,
and you just maybe lose that spark somehow.
They're thinking it a little bit.
Yeah,
that
very easily done.
perpetual being on the cusp thing. Maybe they felt, maybe it was just they overthought it. It's like, we need to push this to the next level. We're here. This could be our only chance to go next level.
Yeah.
What do we need to do? And maybe they just came up with an answer that turned out not to really work.
Which is interesting because I read a lot of things about Mclusky Does Dallas and, them as a live band around that time being a band that would put other bands off being a band. Like, I'm going to stop making music because I'm never going to be as good as them. That sort of thing. And then maybe they suffered from that themselves.
Maybe, yeah.
They were in such an amazing place for this record as, that they just couldn't quite get that magic back.
Yeah, I mean, the second album does, I'm sure it wasn't effortless. I'm sure there was a hell of a lot of effort involved, but it does sound effortless. It does sound like it flowed very naturally, and it doesn't sound like it's trying too hard. And the third album, even though the third album is really quite good in places, it sounds way more considered and way more deliberate.
Yeah.
So yeah, they basically broke up after that third album. I think it was like 2004, 2005. In 2006, they brought out like a thing called Mcluskyism, which was a collection of the singles, and then it had like a disc.
Rarities and B-sides
expanded,
and stuff.
Yeah, it was like B-sides and C-sides, and there's actually some really, really good stuff on the B-sides and C-sides, some of which is probably better than stuff from certainly the first and possibly even the last album. Some really interesting material on that. But he'd put a thing in the liner notes that was, that's it then, no farewell tour, no premature deaths, brackets, at time of writing, no live DVDs. And there was some chat around their breakup, which seemed like there was a little bit of acrimony involved. We can't give John Chappell a platform here, but there was discussion of money issues, and I think he made a comment in an article he wrote for Drowned in Sound or something about a member of the band taking money that he thought the others didn't notice was missing by accident, or it was a little bit sort of
yeah. But did they also suffer getting all their gear nicked?
Yeah,
in the States as well?
And it seems like quite a bit of tension arose around that, and that maybe led.
You never know what happened. Maybe somebody left a van open.
Maybe
these things you just don't.
Maybe
know
somebody
about.
thought they were entitled to get something replaced because it wasn't their fault. You don't know, and we can't really give them a platform, so I don't want to unduly prejudice that. But it definitely seems like there was a little bit of tension. But I think it was in 2014 they did a benefit for a place called Le Pub in Newport, Wales, which was facing closure, and they were trying to raise money for the place. They did a couple of shows. They did one at the Buffalo Bar in London, and they got Julia, I think her name's pronounced Rositsky, something like that, or Rosiska. I fucking know. It's Andy's wife now, so he's bound to be outraged by my
Dead bass player.
ham-fisted attempt at pronunciation. Yeah, she used to play in Million Dead.
Yeah.
They got her to join on bass, and the singer from St. Pierre's Snake Invasion, I think, is a band, played as well, who are still going, as far as I'm aware. I think they're playing this year at the Wrong Festival. And they kind of started performing as Mclusky ***, doing the odd benefit show. I think he did something in Cardiff as well. Bits and
the
bobs.
Years show a couple of years ago as well in Bristol.
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, the sleeve note comment about, you know, suggesting that there was going to be no reunion. There isn't a reunion. It doesn't seem like John Chappell's ever going to be in the picture again. He
Yeah.
started a band called Shooting at Unarmed Men. Then he emigrated to Australia. I think he continued the band over there, and that band's like a little bit more indie, decent, like pretty good. Not Mclusky, not Future to the Left. They kind of sound a bit more like the band Wire at points.
Yeah.
Maybe just a bit more modern. But Too Pure put them out as well. So whatever the acrimony was, the record label can't have been too outraged about it. But yeah, it doesn't seem like the original Mclusky lineup's going to resolve things anytime soon. But yeah, so and since then, Future to the Left have started playing the Mclusky songs live, because obviously so many of the members of Future to the Left were now playing them anyway as
Yeah.
Mclusky asterisk. And that's pretty good when you go and see them. It's nice to see those songs not just cast into the void, because they're terrific.
Hi. As you might hear, we still are fiddling about with knobs and trying to make ourselves sound good, because we are scraping together things. Chris is currently outside looking for a cable in his car. We've got things falling over because we're just poor. We're not a professional operation. We're just doing this for the love of it. But if you like what you hear and you hear what you like, then it would be wonderful if you could donate to unsungpod.net/donate. Mark's giving me a big thumbs up because I finally remembered the URL. One day, and that day is today.
But yeah, it's a bit of an ignominious ending to a band that seemed like it was going to really do something. I'm not sure, maybe it's somewhat limited by the style of music that it is.
Yeah.
You know, maybe it's that kind of thing where you reach peak audience for something that's quite niche.
Yeah, exactly. It's pop rock, but it's not.
Yeah,
pop.
I mean, it's super, like, it's
You
way
know.
more abrasive, like even more so than the Pixies.
Yeah,
So it's-
exactly.
And it other than perhaps To Hell With Good Intentions, it didn't lend itself that well to being DJ'd at clubs, for example.
Yeah.
And that can ultimately make or break those kind of bands.
I think a lot of the stuff on this record as well, when you say pop rock, Falco's really good at writing pop stuff and just twisting it ever so slightly and subverting it, just turn it to the left or to the right a wee bit and making it weird. I think he really excels at doing that. A lot of the guitar parts as well, particularly, are really, really catchy.
Yeah.
And his vocals have got the potential to be catchy, but they're obviously not, knowingly not. And from my experience, he really fucking loves like pop music and like big pop songwriters and stuff.
I don't know, man. I actually don't agree with that. I think one of the secrets to Mclusky is the fact that the vocals are so catchy. Like Gareth Brown says, starts with the phrase "all of your friends are cunts" and your
Yeah.
mother's a ballpoint pen thief.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those bits that as soon as it comes in at the gigs, everybody sang it.
All of your friends are cunts. Your mother is a ballpoint pen thief. Notoriety follows you like beatings follow rain. Bring on the paper.
You couldn't not sing it. And
It's not conventionally catchy, is what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah,
it's
but
never gonna
these
be,
are like indie rock kids that are, you know, finding this little album that nobody else loves apart from the 200 sweaty kids in their little Ipswich town or wherever around the UK. It's not like
they were
they're
still
singing
playing
along
like
on top of the pops.
800 capacity venues, though. You know, and the venues
Yeah,
are
but-
the venues are all singing along. I mean, To Hell With Good Intentions as well is what, like, you know, my band is better than your band. Was it we've got more songs than a song convention?
Yeah.
My dad is bigger than your dad. He's got 8 cars and a house in Ireland.
Sing it. My band is better than your band. We got more songs than a song convention. Sing it. My love is bigger than your love. Sing it. My love is bigger than your love. Sing it.
What's the one about take more drugs than a touring funk band? Like,
Yeah.
their lyrics were full of like really sort of funny catchphrases. And we were talking in a previous episode about how rap doesn't rely on the catchy melody; it relies on the catchy slogan. Like Death Grips rely on the catchy slogan. And Mclusky in an indie way did have the catchy slogan. Man, the lyrics were fucking brilliant at points, and like humour became a big part of their thing anyway. Like
Yeah.
going to a Mclusky show live, going to a Future Left show live, it's sometimes sort of almost equal parts stand up as it is music. Like Andy Falcus is, with the exception of maybe Brendan O'Hare, Teenage Fan Club, Microcosmica, Andy's the funniest guy I've ever seen on stage in a band. His ability to just react and engage with an audience and, you know, nicely control hecklers and nicely control the crowd to some extent, but it is pretty sensational. Like, the guy's a very, very quick-witted guy, and it became a huge part of their live performances. Like, they would almost like get into sections of the show where the crowd would be like deliberately saying things to try and encourage Andy to start, talking. And when you get them on a good night, when they're in a good mood, they're having a good show, they're like really genuinely very, very funny live as well. And it's not like, and it's that thing with comedy in music, like you're trying to avoid being the Bloodhound Gang, or you're trying to avoid being the darkness, or you're trying to avoid being.
Why would you avoid being the darkness?
As you're right, it's a fine line, isn't it? Like, you could very easily fall off the other side of being kind of corny.
Yeah, being
but
a shtick.
It's totally not, and that's one of my favourite things about it, because it's very incisive as well. It's definitely not trying to be funny. It just is the way he is.
Don't go fucking the barn because the barn's on fire. Repeated 20 times in a song.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, and it's like something that's kind of puerile, but it's funny puerile. It's not. It isn't trying too hard. It's not like trying to set up a narrative.
It's very British funny.
Yeah,
do you think?
Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah. Like, Mclusky and Future the Left are not Tenacious D. I mean, they're not like doing it for shits and giggles and puns and pulling goofy faces. It's not like that. I mean, there is a video though for one of the tracks. I think it's "She Will Bring You Only Happiness" on The Difference Between You and Me Is That I'm Not on Fire. And the video is kind of pretty outright sort of like campy. It's an animated bowling pin following the band around like a dockland. It's really, and then it's pretty light-hearted, and I think that's the closest they got to outright sort of like, hey, we're a fun band.
Yeah,
because some of the stuff is still pretty dark. And I think with Future the Left, it's maybe one of the reasons I really like Arming Eritrea.
It's a lot darker, that band.
And that's a political song. That is literally a political song. And Drink Nike on that same album is another kind of overtly sort of thinking man's, thinking woman's, thinking person's song. But yeah, Mclusky tended to kind of not batter you around the head with political messages, but they did have loads of sardonic stuff. But then they had tons of pop culture references to like Danny Baker and the 1986 World Cup and Michael Caine and Alton Towers, and very British kind of cultural references that Americans definitely wouldn't get. Yeah, audiences. So it would explain partly why it didn't translate to places like the US and Japan. But yeah, over here they were much beloved.
So do you guys listen to this album regularly?
I hadn't listened to it for a few years, but I enjoy it when I hear it immensely.
It's a good playlist album.
Yeah.
I don't listen to the full album start to finish, but it's a really good album in terms of DJing, in terms of if you're in a car, in terms of if you're passing an iPod at a party. It's really good for that. Yeah, this has aged well, I think.
I think it has, definitely.
By the way, this was out at the same time as the Strokes were starting an Electric Six.
Yeah.
Gay Bar, Electric Six. There's another kind of like pseudo comedy song, but
fucking hell, I totally forgot about your Electric Six. Jesus,
still going, man. Still fucking touring and playing shows and shit. Like, it's mental.
Just as relevant as ever.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, this is one of the very few albums that, like, whenever I think about how good it was when I first heard it, when I put it back on, it's still just as good as that time. And there's not a lot of albums that do that for me, even ones that I really like. And that's why I love this record so much, because it's just
talk us through it.
It's fun.
Talk
it's
us
a fun
through
record.
Pick it apart. Let's have a deep dive.
Let's start there. It's a fun record, isn't it? Really.
It is.
It's a band having fun.
It starts with a song called Lightsaber Cocksucking Blues.
Either you are while you're falling apart and it open a can of worms. And that gun's in my hand and I know it looks bad, but believe me, I'm innocent. And I'm fearful of flying, and flying is fearful of me.
Which I think they described as a whole lot of Rosie with worse lyrics. Yeah, just kicking in with the hi-hats, and it does that quiet loud, just, fantastic. It's a really, really good way to start an album as well.
The drum sound is the first thing that hits you, because it's just fucking great. Obviously Steve Albini, and that's kind of one of his signature things, but this sounds really, really good, and the guitar tone is obscene on it as well. And it just sounds so raw. I think that's what we were saying earlier on about production, you know what I mean? That rawness, it just feels like a band actually like being captured live and like really like recorded really well, as opposed to like an actual live show. Because sometimes you get that. Like, I think a good example of that is in Casino Out Back at the Drive-In, which also sounds really, really good. and it was a band playing live, but it doesn't quite capture that live sound that they had when they were at their peak. You know?
This is definitely a bit rougher and rawer, but in a good way. Like the Lightsaber Cocksucking Blues, it doesn't do the Mclusky thing of having like the single string, single note guitar motifs that they do quite a lot. Like they're quite known for kind of almost annoying, but they work because they're annoying, because they're over this backdrop of like a big beat. The Lightsaber Cocksucking Blues doesn't do that, but there are 2 or 3 tracks off the back of it. No New Wave, No Fun, I think, College and Rock, What We've Learnt. They all kind of start to kind of set out this template.
I mean, basically the first 6 tracks are all just like gung-ho fucking pub punk.
I love College and Rock. It's great.
But I think
it's such a good tune.
Track 6, Do You Think to Survive, the one that ends with I'm just screaming Danny Baker.
Yeah.
That's probably the heaviest track in the album,
Yeah.
I think, and it's just really good.
Yeah, it's
really
so
direct.
noisy, man.
Yeah.
The thing to survive.
Like it then like totally slows down for Fuck This Band. But
Well, Fuck This
I
Band
really
is like a
that track.
really, for such a kind of modest song,
Yeah.
it's a really significant song in the history of the band, because you know, I'm willing to wager their number 1 selling bit of merch was the t-shirts that just said Fuck This Band.
Fuck this band. Yeah, fuck their holes. But if they split.
Do you think that song's about new metal? Because there are some obvious lyrical points there where he talks about like the clown mask and all that, and like how these guys think they're so fucking cool and all that.
Yeah, I mean they were certainly around at that time, but I don't know.
I just don't see it as being his style to be as specific as that. I think it's much more nihilistic, cheeky, just slagging off his own, not even the real band, just slagging off an imagined project for the fucking sake of it. It's just, it seems to be what Mclusky do, or what Andy Falco does, is just to pick a thing. You know, he's always doing that thing with like, our old singer is a sex criminal. That's like the lyric. Like, it just repeats that lyric. It's like, well, what old singer? They didn't have an old singer. You know, so it's just like they just pick these kind of abstract concepts. There's one about their drummer as well that I can't remember the lyric right now. But they just pick like an ex-member who either did or didn't exist, and then they just kind of make fun of them, or they make fun of the band, and it doesn't really seem like it's directed at the actual person or the actual band.
No, it's more encapsulating the idea that they're like a wee gang right now, and it's like fuck the world.
Yeah,
We're
it's just like a bit hedonistic and a little bit sort of whatever.
Yeah,
I don't think
self-aware hedonism.
Yeah, I don't think he sat down and was like, see, that's fucking new metal. It's pure murder. And I'm sure I don't know Andy, but I'm sure he believes that. Pretty
sure he
confident.
does
I don't know.
believe
I
that.
don't think I think he's quite a big Mushroom Head fan myself.
But I don't think he's so preachy as to want to sit down and be like, I need to take these guys down a peg or two.
Yeah.
I'm gonna write a thing called Fuck This Band. Besides, it'd be called Fuck That Band.
Yeah. No, I know. I feel like it's a tongue-in-cheek sort of fuck the concept of being in a band.
It's also a very nice palate cleanser for the
Yeah,
six
it's
tracks
a
and
good.
5
Well,
tracks
yeah,
that
it's a
come
good
Yeah,
pace
exactly.
because then it goes into To Hell with Good Intentions,
Which is like the
the song.
yeah, it's interesting that track because it does sound different. It sounds like they're going slightly beyond the live fury and like produced a song.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
it's
it's
really
interesting.
catchy.
I've got like friends who have no real interest in a lot of the alternative rock that I listen to, but yet they will at parties play To Hell with Good Intentions specifically or request it, and it's odd because I mean these are people that are playing Charlatans and Ride and stuff like that, and yet they're really into this specific. They like Mclusky in general, but the reason they like Mclusky is because they like that song and that was their gateway, and then they get into Mclusky via that.
Yeah.
And it sort of seems that maybe they did try to write that again, maybe they didn't try to write that again, but it seems like that was their real breakthrough formula, was stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's so good. I mean, the simplicity of it, the stoppy, starty, chunky nature of it. The lyrics, I think, play no small part just because of the sing along like value of some of those funnier lyrics in it, and it's a really strong song. That is the one you can DJ that in any kind of alternative set. You can bang that on at the end of the yeahs, and people don't skip a beat.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just a really good bit of writing. I think it probably played a big part. Well, I know for me it played a big part because it's the first one I heard, but it probably played a really big part in the success of this album, or at least the cult status of this album. And it's right there in the middle, and it's pivotal, and it's in this little clutch of like really good varied songs in the middle to break up, because if it all continued like the first 5 or 6, I think it might become quite tiring by the end. But they do just hit this like patch of variation that's really, it breaks it up really well and shows that they're not one-dimensional as well.
It does speak to the things that he enjoys as well, which is, writing poppy songs and twisting it.
Yeah, it's funny that it kind of came in the sort of height of the CD time, because it feels like if it was a 2-sided record, that would be like start at side B.
Yeah, actually, would be. It's right in the middle. Yeah,
I don't know what it. I don't have it on vinyl. I don't know if that might.
So I don't know how they
might well be.
If they thought of it as 2 sides, or if they just thought of it as a CD. But
that's a good point. Actually, that could well be. The one after it, though, I think it's deliberately the clique application form. I think it's deliberately on there to let you switch off for a couple of minutes, which, in fairness, is probably a good idea. It's that thing where you're allowed to just tune out for a couple of minutes, as happens sometimes when you're listening to an album. The only problem is you tune out during something you're meant to be listening to.
Yeah.
So that this clique application form what comes on, it's pretty basic. It's not overproduced. It's kind of messy. It's just sort of this kind of throwaway thing that goes on for a while, and it's not a particularly great bit of music, but I think it's in there for a reason.
Yeah, adds balance to
I think it
the
also has some of the most misanthropic lyrics on it, from what I remember. Which the world loves us in our bitches.
The world loves us in our bitches. Comes in after that, which is one of their most recognisable, I think, and one of the most easy ones to latch onto the chorus.
That guitar tone is pure radio-friendly unit shifter. It sounds exactly the same as radio-friendly unit shifter, that guitar tone.
Well, I mean,
which makes a bit of sense.
There's one potentially obvious reason for that, but I can't say I've ever picked up on that. I'd probably have to go and listen to it to concur. So I'm going to stay in the fence with that one. But you could be right. I'm sure it was.
I'm definitely right.
Good chance it was recorded using some of the same gear.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. In terms of like their most famous songs, Alan is a Cowboy Killer, that and Lightsaber Cocksucking Blues are probably the two after To Hell with Good Intentions.
Yeah.
In terms of like how.
What Gareth Brown says as well, because of the opening line.
Yeah.
It's probably up there too.
But off this record, anyway, I think there's She'll Only Bring You Happiness off the third record is a well-known one.
Quite.
But it stands out on that record.
I don't remember that record. I know it exists and I have heard it, but
yeah. I mean, that's the track that totally stood out for me.
Yeah,
and
that's the one they did that video with the wee bowling pin.
Yeah.
I think like Alan's a Cowboy Killer, as funny as odd and as funny as that is, and whatever that actually means, I've no idea. But there is like there's a section in it. You were such an ugly child. You were such an awkward child. Mm-hmm. You were such a stupid child. We should have cottoned on.
You were such an awkward child, but you were such a stupid child. We should have cottoned on.
I just really like that bit. There's some just, I don't know. There is something kind of exasperated and a little bit sad, a little bit pathetic, and a little bit melancholy about that bit. And it's one of the weirdly kind of tender but yet not very nice moments in the album. I think it shows like a real subtle kind of humour in that is just like a wee bit tragic, and I love that line. Yep. Followed by Gareth Brown Says, and all of your friends are cunts. Your mother is a ballpoint pen thief, which is the line that anytime you read about the band, the journalist picks it out. Like I think I maybe read 10 interviews, and they all were like, "Oh, this band wrote a line that says all of your friends are cunts. Your mother is a ballpoint pen thief, and you're like, yeah, they wrote a lot of other weird shit as well.
Yeah,
no?
a lot.
It's
Like, the next line is notoriety follows you like beatings follow rain.
Michael Caine doesn't follow you, and you've never been to Spain.
Exactly. That's a couple and a half right there.
Yeah, it's a belter.
They also do that thing, but it's that you've never been to Alton Towers, Michael Caine doesn't follow you, and you've never been to Spain. It never sat right with me, and I think they did it deliberately. It's like a double fuck you, that it's like such clumsy writing. Like, you've never been somewhere, Michael Caine doesn't follow you, and you've never been somewhere else. It's like, oh, fuck off, that's just too awkward. Like, that just doesn't read well, and that's like an extra level of fuck off.
Still, your tales are lies. You've never been to Alton Towers. Michael Caine doesn't follow you, and you've never been to Spain. Bring on the gold.
But yeah, like that song's famous, and it's famous because it's renowned within their following because it's a great song, but also because of that opening line.
Yeah,
because it is just, hands in the air, wave them around. You just don't care.
Leave your chases.
Chases, yeah. Don't go fucking the barn because the barn's on fire. It's about as fucking throwaway and stupid as you can get, but good fun, and just has this kind of like car alarm guitar all the way through it.
And Who You Know wasn't recorded by Albini, and you can hear that immediately. The guitars sound completely different, and I like the guitars on this record. I actually like this song a lot. It's probably one of my favourite songs on the album, actually.
It's got some terrific lyricism in it as well. Your heart's gone the colour of Coca-Cola. Your heart's gone the colour of a dustbin. That's a really, really good ending.
Maybe
as well.
actually got the biggest chorus on the record.
Yeah, well, it's kind of more of an outro refrain, isn't it? Where they just repeat that "your heart's gone the colour of Coca-Cola" thing, and it's a big kind of singy chunk. I mean, why was it not recorded by Albini? Do you know?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I wonder
Maybe
if
they
it
got
was
home
like-
and just went, oh,
Got
we
another
need
song
someone
here.
else.
Yeah, or whether it was like this needs something else, or whether it's like, oh, we have this other tune written and it's too good not to put out.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't know that. I
Or
didn't
maybe
know.
it was actually a B-side or something, and they recorded it, and then we're like, fuck, actually we should probably put it on the record, because it doesn't break before the record at all. It does sound quite similar, but the guitar tone in particular it's like big. It's almost like stadium rock style.
Yeah,
It's so big.
It is a bit bigger, yeah. And the writing of it is a bit bigger as well. Yeah, it caps it off nicely, so it could well be that it was specifically like this would be a better way to end it. But yeah, it's only 36 minutes long, this album as well. It's that fantastic thing where you're just like, fuck, it's finished, and I'm still up for more.
Yeah.
Brevity is the soul of wit and the soul of Mclusky from the sounds of it, but just kind of ticks almost every box, other than balladry. And maybe fuck this band is in its
it's
own way.
got
Close to that, yeah.
Balladry.
Yep.
We've got a nice accompaniment here by, is that a forklift truck or something?
Yeah, a jammed engine
We're keeping
outside.
it real.
But yeah, so I mean, you guys really like this album.
Other
Yeah.
podcasts have double glazing.
Yeah, no.
Not as-
Please donate
We definitely
to
draw.
for thicker windows and longer
A different
trousers.
room, maybe.
Or quieter forklifts. We could take
Just
the money
buy everybody
and,
a
rather than
quieter
buying double
forklift.
glazing, we just
WD-40.
go down there. There you go, guys. We'll give that a scoosh.
But yeah, I'm getting the vibe that you guys both really like this record.
I think this is like another example of exactly what we're talking about with the podcast. I think it's a great moment from a band that were good, really good, but this everything clicked at one time for this, and I think they struggled to live up to it, and probably rightly, and no choice once they started accusing each other of financial malfeasance, but moved on to something slightly different.
Yep.
I can see us maybe talking about Future Left at some point as well. I think in their own right they're really, really good. I'm just not as convinced that they have an album that jumps out
standout
as
record,
being
yeah.
like, this is the one, this is the quintessential Future Left. I'm not sure that exists, albeit I certainly think you could put together a Future Left album that was as good as this. Certainly.
I would certainly say like maybe Travels with Myself and Others is probably the one that I would pick if I was
And
going
another.
to.
Yeah. I mean, that's a really good album. Yeah. But yeah, maybe we'll get to that. But it builds on this. But this was a hell of a template, and they were like, Mclusky were like the ultimate power trio. I know a lot of people. I liked Ruben I liked a number of the bands that were kicking about at the same time, but they all had a level of corniness that Mclusky didn't have. Like there was something about Mclusky that just aged better. So many of those bands had a level of kind of like grungy kind of hokiness to them, and Mclusky, maybe because of the humour, didn't really fall victim to that, and as a result it seems to have maintained its luster over the years, whereas the other ones, I think now you kind of have to listen to them with a wee bit of sort of shrug at the same time.
With like you said with Meshuggah, if this doesn't go in, I'm going to quit.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not that upset about it. I mean, I don't think even Andy would be that upset about it. But, I mean, they were they're probably the best of that era. In fact, they're probably quite safely the best of the British rock, kind of alternative rock acts of that era,
and the least safe as well.
But yeah, I'm definitely behind this one.
As am I. Weaver, what is your thoughts? You've not
R, god damn it, R. What are your thoughts?
What am my thoughts?
What are your thoughts?
Maybe I just missed the boat with it, and I'm probably too late now because it's not nostalgic for me, and it's not. I don't know. It's not the sort of thing I'd ever listen to.
The sad thing is, your high school band could definitely have covered this.
Well, yeah, I know that's fucking true. But also, I get like I listened to it, and it was really. I don't know. There was something really charming about it. I did enjoy it, so I'm happy to see it go in. I just probably won't listen to it.
That's a shame.
If that makes sense.
But
if it goes
backhanded compliment, that
I'll never put it on like on my phone while I'm walking around. But if somebody puts it on in the car or at a party, I will enjoy it.
That's because, as we found out, you're too busy walking up the road listening to Issues by Korn. So clearly a voice to be trusted on the merits of past albums.
I don't get your tone there.
So too subtle. Right, let's chuck this one in the pile marked.
Yeah, if you enjoyed this record or you agree with us, all three, pretty much, then go onto the Facebook group and click yes. Hit I like this album. This should be part of the list.
And if you hit nay, we would appreciate you telling us why not.
Yeah. Must have a damn good reason why not.
Let's have a nice discussion on the internet.
Nice spirited debate.
That doesn't spiral into accusations.
The infighting that followed Meshuggah.
I mean, that's only on the internet can that happen. Can fans of a really niche metal band all start arguing because of the fact that some of them don't agree with it?
I told you.
Exactly. I love this album. Oh, it's so great, but it's maybe not my favourite. Fuck you! I hate you! Get in the sea!
I told you the Obson thing was going to be a sticking point.
Well, it's. I think it has been voted in.
It has been voted in, so there'll be no more Meshuggah discussions in future. That's
I'm afraid Catch 33 is the perfect Meshuggah record, and everybody else can fuck off.
What'd you wish? All right,
anyway.
internet crew, give your best shot.
Yeah. What we're doing next?
Next week we are doing.
Well, I believe we already gave that one away. We're going to do
did.
14 Autumns and 15 Winters by The Twilight Sad.
It's a good Scottish record.
I should have said 14 Autumns and 15 Winters.
Kilsyth's finest.
Yep, there's a good Indian restaurant in Kilsyth, and there's a good band too. So let's get further into that next week.
Excellent.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for that hour of chat and Mclusky.
That chat was longer than the record. Fucking hell.
I think it's twice as long.
Fuck.